The wrench slipped from Captain Sarah Martinez's oil-stained fingers as the complex avionics panel finally clicked into place. 3 other technicians had failed to diagnose the A-10's navigation system malfunction over the past week, yet she had identified the corrupted circuit board within minutes of opening the access panel. The Warthog's sophisticated targeting computer hummed back to life, its displays cycling through system checks with electronic precision. Where are you located, and have you ever witnessed someone's expertise being completely overlooked because of their job title? This kind of workplace blindness happens more often than we realize. Martinez wiped her hands on her coveralls as footsteps echoed through Hangar Bay 7. Major Hayes entered with 2 visiting colonels, their pressed uniforms contrasting sharply with the grease-stained maintenance area. His voice carried across the space with practiced authority as he gestured toward the recently repaired aircraft. "This is routine maintenance work," Hayes explained to his guests, "nothing more complex than standard troubleshooting procedures." Martinez bit back her response. Knowing the navigation system she had just repaired required intimate knowledge of the A-10's integrated flight systems, knowledge that extended far beyond basic maintenance protocols. The visiting officers nodded approvingly while Hayes continued his tour, dismissing Martinez's technical achievement as mere wrench-turning. Lieutenant Collins stood near the hydraulic station, watching the interaction with growing curiosity. He had observed Martinez's work on advanced systems before, noting her precision with components that challenged even experienced avionics specialists. Hayes approached Martinez directly, his tone shifting to the condescending register he reserved for enlisted personnel. "Since you finished that simple repair so quickly," he announced, "you can handle the complete inventory of spare parts in Building C." The task would consume her entire afternoon, preventing her from working on the more complex repairs that actually utilized her capabilities. Martinez accepted the assignment without protest, though Collins noticed the brief flash of frustration that crossed her features. Hayes claimed credit for the navigation system repair during his briefing with the visiting colonels, describing it as evidence of his squadron's technical competence under his leadership. The irony struck Collins as he watched Martinez gather her tools. The woman Hayes had just dismissed as a simple mechanic had solved a problem that had grounded a $1 million aircraft for an entire week. Her diagnostic approach had been methodical yet intuitive, suggesting training that extended far beyond what her maintenance role would require. Collins approached Martinez as she prepared to leave for Building C. "That navigation system repair was impressive," he commented carefully. She paused, meeting his gaze with eyes that held depths of experience he was only beginning to recognize. "It is just troubleshooting," she replied, echoing Hayes's earlier dismissal, but Collins detected something calculated in her response. As Martinez walked toward Building C, Collins remained in the hangar, studying the perfectly functioning A-10. The repair she had completed would have challenged a flight system specialist, yet she had performed it with the confidence of someone intimately familiar with every circuit and component. His suspicion began forming that Sarah Martinez might be far more than the maintenance technician her coverall suggested. The hangar fell quiet except for the steady hum of the restored navigation system, its electronic heartbeat a testament to expertise that Hayes had completely failed to recognize. The squadron briefing room buzzed with pre-mission energy as pilots studied aerial photographs and weather reports spread across the central table. Major Hayes pointed at the tactical display while explaining flight patterns to his aircrew, their attention focused on the digital map showing contested airspace over mountainous terrain. Martinez entered quietly, carrying a mop and bucket that Hayes had specifically assigned her despite the ongoing mission planning session. The cleaning assignment during critical briefings served as Hayes's latest method of emphasizing her perceived place in the squadron hierarchy. Martinez began mopping the far corner while the pilots discussed ingress routes and target coordinates, her presence treated as invisible by everyone except Lieutenant Rodriguez, who occasionally glanced in her direction. Hayes traced a flight path across the display with his finger, outlining an approach vector that would take the formation directly through a valley known for concentrated anti-aircraft positions. The route appeared tactically sound on the surface, following standard close air support protocols. Yet Martinez noticed several concerning elements that the briefing had overlooked. She observed the mission parameters while continuing her cleaning duties, noting the enemy position markers and friendly force locations marked on the digital terrain. The proposed ingress route would expose the aircraft to overlapping fields of fire from 3 separate missile sites, creating a deadly gauntlet that could be easily avoided with a slight course adjustment. Martinez approached Hayes' position near the display, her cleaning supplies still in hand. The enemy anti-aircraft positions create overlapping coverage along your primary route, she said quietly. A northern approach through Grid 77 would avoid the missile engagement zones while maintaining optimal attack positioning. The briefing room fell silent as every pilot turned toward Martinez, their expressions ranging from surprise to amusement. Hayes' face flushed with anger at being contradicted by maintenance personnel during an official tactical briefing. He stepped closer to Martinez, his voice rising to ensure everyone heard his response. "Stick to wrenches, sweetheart," Hayes announced with deliberate condescension. "Leave flying to pilots who actually understand combat operations." The other pilots laughed on cue, reinforcing Hayes' authority while dismissing Martinez's tactical analysis as inappropriate interference. Rodriguez studied the display more carefully, tracing the route Martinez had suggested with his eyes. Her alternative approach would indeed avoid the heaviest concentration of enemy air defenses while providing superior positioning for ground attack runs. The tactical logic was sound, yet she had identified the problems within seconds of observing the mission plan. Martinez returned to her cleaning without further comment, but Rodriguez noticed her jaw tighten with controlled frustration. Hayes continued the briefing using his original flawed route, his authority restored through public humiliation of a maintenance worker who had dared question his tactical judgment. The other pilots accepted his plan without further discussion, their confidence in his leadership reinforced by his decisive handling of the interruption. The mission would proceed with Hayes' original route despite the tactical vulnerabilities Martinez had identified. Rodriguez privately wondered how a maintenance technician had spotted problems that experienced combat pilots had missed, especially with such immediate clarity about air defense positioning and optimal attack vectors. As the briefing concluded, pilots gathered their materials and headed toward the flight line for mission preparation. Rodriguez lingered, studying the tactical display and mentally comparing Hayes' route with Martinez's suggested alternative. The woman mopping floors had demonstrated knowledge of enemy capabilities and terrain analysis that suggested training far beyond basic maintenance protocols. Martinez finished cleaning and prepared to leave the briefing room, her expression carefully neutral despite the public ridicule she had endured. Rodriguez approached her position near the door, his voice low enough to avoid attracting attention from the departing pilots. "What did you learn tactical planning?" Rodriguez asked directly. Martinez paused, meeting his gaze with the same measured look Collins had noticed in the hangar. "You pick things up when you work around aircraft long enough," she replied, but Rodriguez detected careful evasion in her response. Her knowledge of air-to-ground tactics had been too precise and immediate for casual observation. Rodriguez realized that Martinez possessed expertise that extended far beyond what her maintenance role would explain, expertise that Hayes had just dismissed through arrogance and assumption. The armory's fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows across rows of weapons and ammunition as Martinez guided Airman First Class Thompson through the A-10GU 8-cannon maintenance procedures. The massive 7-barrel Gatling gun dominated the maintenance bay, its titanium housing gleaming under the overhead illumination. Thompson struggled with the technical manual, flipping between pages while trying to understand the complex loading mechanisms. Martinez pointed to the ammunition feed system, explaining how the depleted uranium rounds cycled through the weapon's firing sequence. "The standard manual covers basic maintenance," she said, "but in combat situations you need to understand how different ammunition types affect barrel wear patterns and cycling rates." Her explanation went far beyond the technical specifications Thompson had been studying. She described specific loading procedures for various threat environments, detailing how armor-piercing rounds required different handling protocols than high-explosive incendiary ammunition. The combat-specific knowledge flowed naturally from her experience, though Thompson noticed these procedures weren't documented in any manual he had accessed. "How do you know about combat loading configurations?" Thompson asked with genuine curiosity. Martinez hesitated briefly before explaining that working around combat aircraft exposed maintenance personnel to operational procedures. Her answer satisfied Thompson's immediate question, though something in her delivery suggested deeper familiarity with these systems. Major Hayes entered the armory unexpectedly, his expression darkening as he overheard Martinez discussing combat-specific ammunition protocols. He approached their position near the Gu-8 system, his displeasure evident in his rigid posture and narrowed eyes. The conversation stopped abruptly as Hayes positioned himself between Martinez and Thompson. "Reading above your pay grade again, Martinez," Hayes announced with calculated menace. "Maintenance personnel don't need to understand combat loading procedures." His tone carried the implicit threat that her explanations had crossed boundaries he considered inappropriate for her assigned role. Hayes assigned Martinez to complete inventory duties in the supply warehouse, effectively removing her from any technical work for the remainder of the day. The punishment served multiple purposes, isolating her from other personnel, preventing her from sharing knowledge he deemed inappropriate, and reinforcing his authority over squadron assignments. Master Sergeant Thompson observed the exchange from his position near the weapons storage area, his experienced eye noting the dynamics between Hayes and Martinez. Thompson had spent 20 years in maintenance operations, developing instincts about personnel capabilities and training backgrounds that rarely proved wrong. The knowledge Martinez had demonstrated about pilot-specific procedures troubled Thompson's professional understanding. Maintenance technicians typically learned weapon systems from a mechanical perspective, focusing on repair and replacement rather than tactical employment. Martinez had described combat loading procedures with the precision of someone who had actually employed these weapons in operational environments. Thompson approached Martinez as she gathered her clipboard for inventory duty. "Your explanation of ammunition cycling was very detailed," he commented carefully. She acknowledged his observation without elaboration, but Thompson noticed the way her eyes briefly assessed him before responding. "Most maintenance techs learn weapon mechanics without understanding tactical applications," Thompson continued, watching Martinez's reaction closely. Her knowledge suggested training that extended far beyond typical maintenance protocols, training that implied direct combat experience with these weapon systems. As Martinez left for the warehouse, Thompson remained in the armory, considering what he had witnessed. Her expertise with combat procedures raised questions about her background and qualifications that Hayes had apparently never investigated. Thompson's curiosity about Martinez's true capabilities began shifting toward formal concern about proper personnel utilization. The Gu-8 cannon dominated the maintenance bay like a sleeping predator, its 7 barrels waiting for someone who truly understood its combat potential. Thompson realized that Martinez might be exactly that someone, despite the maintenance coveralls that concealed her actual qualifications from Hayes's limited perception. Hayes's pattern of dismissing Martinez's expertise was becoming a liability for squadron readiness, Thompson concluded. Someone with her level of knowledge about combat systems belonged in positions where that expertise could be properly utilized, not cleaning warehouses because of Hayes's inability to recognize capability when it contradicted his assumptions. The emergency klaxon shattered the afternoon quiet across the flight line, its piercing wail sending maintenance crews scrambling toward their assigned positions. Martinez dropped her inventory clipboard as the base-wide announcement crackled through speakers mounted throughout the facility. "Emergency inbound. All personnel to stations," the voice commanded with urgent authority that cut through normal operational procedures. Captain Williams transmitted from his damaged 810 circling the airfield, his voice tight with controlled stress as he reported multiple system failures. "Primary hydraulics gone. backup system failing, ejection seat malfunction confirmed, he announced through bursts of static interference. The aircraft had sustained battle damage over hostile territory, limping home on failing systems that threatened catastrophic failure during landing approach. Major Hayes rushed into the operations center, his face pale as he absorbed the severity of Williams' situation. The pilot faced a nightmare scenario, attempting to land a heavily damaged aircraft without hydraulic assistance, backup systems degrading rapidly, and no option for safe ejection if the approach failed. Hayes grabbed the radio microphone, his hands trembling slightly as he began coordinating rescue procedures. Martinez entered the operations center behind Hayes, drawn by the emergency that required every available resource. She listened to Williams's damage reports while Hayes struggled to provide meaningful guidance, his knowledge of A-10 emergency procedures proving insufficient for the complex crisis unfolding above their airfield. Hayes attempted to direct Williams through standard emergency checklist items, but the pilot situation had progressed beyond routine procedures. Manual reversion for flight controls, Hayes suggested, though Williams had already confirmed that option was unavailable due to battle damage. The conversation revealed Hayes's limitations when faced with genuine emergency conditions. Martinez stepped forward as Williams reported complete hydraulic failure and rapidly declining manual control authority. She moved toward the radio console, her voice calm but urgent as she addressed the pilot directly. "Williams, this is Martinez in operations. Switch to manual trim compensation and reduce your approach speed to 120 knots." Hayes turned sharply toward Martinez, anger flashing across his features at her unauthorized intervention. "Step back immediately," he ordered, but Martinez continued coordinating with Williams, whose aircraft was now 3 minutes from attempted landing on a runway lined with emergency vehicles. Martinez guided Williams through emergency procedures that Hayes had never encountered, her instructions precise and confident as she addressed each system failure in sequence. Engage backup electrical power for landing gear extension. Compensate for asymmetric drag using differential power settings. Configure flaps manually if hydraulic pressure drops below minimum threshold. Master Sergeant Thompson arrived in operations as Martinez continued directing the emergency response, her expertise now impossible to ignore or dismiss. Hayes stood frozen, realizing his knowledge was inadequate for the crisis, while Martinez demonstrated mastery of procedures that could save Williams's life. Thompson recognized immediately that Martinez possessed emergency knowledge far beyond maintenance training. Her instructions addressed pilot-specific procedures with precision that suggested intimate familiarity with A-10 emergency operations, knowledge typically restricted to qualified aircrew and flight instructors. Williams executed Martinez's guidance flawlessly, his aircraft stabilizing as she talked him through compensation techniques for his multiple system failures. She directed ground crews through emergency preparation procedures that Hayes had never seen, coordinating rescue resources with professional competence that contradicted everything about her supposed maintenance background. The A-10 touched down hard but safely, its damaged landing gear holding as Williams brought the aircraft to a stop short of the runway overrun area. Emergency crews surrounded the smoking Warthog within seconds, extracting Williams from his cockpit as fire suppression teams secured the scene. Williams climbed down from his aircraft and approached the operations center, his face reflecting the gravity of what Martinez's expertise had prevented. "That guidance saved my life," he announced to everyone present. "No maintenance technician should know those procedures," he added, looking directly at Martinez with questioning recognition. The operations center fell silent as squadron members absorbed the implications of what they had witnessed. Martinez had demonstrated knowledge and competence that extended far beyond her assigned role, raising questions about her background that Hayes could no longer ignore or dismiss through simple authority. Thompson watched Hayes's expression shift from anger to confusion as the reality of Martinez's capabilities became undeniable. The woman they had treated as basic maintenance personnel had just saved a pilot's life using expertise that suggested training none of them had suspected she possessed. Master Sergeant Thompson spread Martinez's personnel file across his desk in the squadron administrative office, studying the documents with the methodical attention he reserved for complex technical problems. The emergency landing incident had crystallized his suspicions about Martinez's background into actionable concern about proper personnel utilization within the squadron. The file appeared standard at first examination. Maintenance training certifications, assignment history, performance evaluations consistently rated above average. Yet Thompson noticed gaps in the chronology that didn't align with typical career progression patterns. Several months showed no assignment data, marked only with administrative codes he didn't recognize. Lieutenant Collins knocked on Thompson's office door, entering with Lieutenant Rodriguez close behind. Both pilots carried coffee cups and expressions of shared confusion about the previous day's events. They had compared observations about Martinez's unusual knowledge, reaching conclusions that prompted their visit to Thompson's office. Collins described Martinez's technical expertise with avionics systems that challenged experienced specialists, while Rodriguez detailed her tactical analysis capabilities that surpassed many combat pilots. Thompson added his observations about her weapons systems knowledge, creating a composite picture of someone whose abilities far exceeded her assigned maintenance role. Thompson decided to contact Martinez's previous duty assignments, hoping to clarify the discrepancies in her background. His first call reached Master Sergeant Davis at Nellis Air Force Base, where Martinez had supposedly served in maintenance operations for 18 months before her current assignment. Davis's response puzzled Thompson immediately. Martinez's name triggered unusual hesitation, followed by vague responses about her role and performance. When Thompson pressed for specifics about her technical capabilities, Davis deflected with generic comments about maintenance personnel. The conversation ended abruptly when Davis claimed he couldn't discuss personnel matters over unsecured phone lines. Thompson's second call to Eglin Air Force Base produced similar results. Sergeant Martinez worked in our maintenance section, confirmed Master Sergeant Wilson, but his tone carried undertones that suggested incomplete disclosure. Wilson refused to elaborate on her specific duties or qualifications, citing administrative policies Thompson had never encountered in routine personnel inquiries. Meanwhile, Major Hayes implemented his retaliation against Martinez for her unauthorized intervention during the emergency. Night shift assignments appeared on the duty roster alongside additional responsibilities that effectively isolated her from normal squadron interactions. Hayes intended to discourage her participation in operations that he considered beyond her authority. Thompson recognized Hayes's punitive measures as counterproductive given Martinez's demonstrated capabilities. The emergency landing had proven her expertise was genuine and valuable, yet Hayes responded by further limiting her contributions to squadron readiness. Thompson's frustration with Hayes's leadership approach intensified. The administrative trail continued yielding incomplete information as Thompson pursued Martinez's background through official channels. Each contact produced responses that felt scripted, as though her previous supervisors had received instructions about limiting information disclosure. The pattern suggested deliberate concealment rather than routine privacy protection. Thompson's third attempt reached Technical Sergeant Rodriguez at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, Martinez's assignment before Nellis. Rodriguez's reaction to Martinez's name was immediate and telling. A sharp intake of breath followed by a long pause before responding. "I can't discuss Sergeant Martinez over this line," Rodriguez finally said. "You need to contact Personnel Command through proper channels." Hayes entered Thompson's office unexpectedly, his expression hostile as he observed the scattered personnel files and phone logs. Stirring up trouble about Martinez won't improve squadron operations, Hayes announced with obvious threat. "She's maintenance personnel, nothing more, and your investigation is creating unnecessary disruption." Thompson met Hayes's gaze steadily, his 20 years of experience providing confidence to challenge questionable leadership decisions. Martinez saved Williams's life using knowledge she shouldn't possess according to her file, Thompson replied. Understanding her actual capabilities serves squadron readiness, not disruption. Hayes's warning carried implications about Thompson's career prospects if he continued investigating Martinez's background. The threat revealed Hayes's awareness that Thompson's inquiry might uncover information that contradicted his treatment of Martinez. Hayes left Thompson's office with clear expectation that the investigation would cease immediately. Thompson waited until Hayes departed before placing his most important call to Personnel Command at Randolph Air Force Base. The duty officer confirmed Martinez's existence in their database, but required special authorization codes to access her complete service record. The security restrictions surrounding her file exceeded anything Thompson had encountered from maintenance personnel. Collins and Rodriguez exchanged glances as Thompson explained the unusual obstacles surrounding Martinez's background verification. Someone was actively preventing access to information about her qualifications and training history, suggesting her maintenance assignment might be more complex than anyone realized. Thompson realized that pursuing Martinez's true background through official channels would require resources and authority beyond his position. However, the pattern of concealment combined with her demonstrated expertise created compelling evidence that Sarah Martinez was not the simple maintenance technician her current assignment suggested. The squadron operations center buzzed with urgent activity as intelligence officers brief pilots on a complex, close air support mission requiring immediate execution. Major Hayes studied satellite imagery spread across the planning table, his finger tracing potential approach routes through mountainous terrain where friendly forces had requested emergency air support against advancing enemy positions. The mission parameters demanded precision timing and optimal weapon placement to support ground troops pinned down in a narrow valley. Hayes struggled with aircraft positioning calculations, attempting to balance weapon effectiveness against exposure to anti-aircraft threats positioned throughout the contested area. His planning session had extended well beyond normal duration without reaching satisfactory solutions. Martinez entered the operations center carrying maintenance clipboards, assigned by Hayes to inventory aircraft readiness status during the critical planning phase. Her presence was intended as background activity, invisible to the pilots focused on tactical preparation, yet she positioned herself where she could observe the mission planning displays. Hayes traced approach vectors on the digital terrain map, proposing flight paths that appeared tactically sound but contained fundamental flaws Martinez recognized immediately. The proposed weapon load configuration included cluster munitions inappropriate for the terrain, while his approach angles would prevent effective target engagement due to mountainous masking. Martinez observed Hayes's calculations for several minutes, noting 3 critical errors that would compromise mission effectiveness and aircraft safety. His weapon selection ignored terrain factors that would reduce ordnance effectiveness. His approach timing failed to account for enemy reinforcement schedules, and his egress routes exposed aircraft to unnecessary anti-aircraft engagement. She approached Lieutenant Collins privately, her voice low enough to avoid attracting Hayes's attention. "The cluster munitions won't be effective in that terrain," Martinez explained quietly. "Rocky ground will absorb fragmentation patterns, and the narrow valley will channel blast effects away from target areas. You need penetrator warheads for bunker targets and precision-guided munitions for vehicle formations." Collins studied the mission display with renewed attention, realizing Martinez's assessment identified problems the planning team had overlooked. Her weapon recommendations addressed specific target types with tactical precision that suggested intimate knowledge of ordnance effectiveness in various operational environments. Martinez continued her analysis, pointing out timing issues with Hayes's approach sequence. "Enemy reinforcements arrive every 4 hours according to intelligence reports," she noted. "Your current timeline puts the formation over target during their next resupply convoy, adding mobile anti-aircraft threats to fixed positions." Rodriguez overheard Martinez's tactical analysis and joined Collins near her position. Both pilots recognized that her observations revealed mission flaws they had missed despite extensive combat experience. Martinez's knowledge of enemy patterns and terrain effects exceeded what maintenance personnel would typically understand. Hayes noticed the quiet conversation between Martinez and the two pilots, his expression darkening as he realized she was discussing tactical matters again. He approached their position with obvious displeasure, prepared to reassert his authority over mission planning activities. Rodriguez intercepted Hayes before he could confront Martinez directly. "Major, we've identified some concerns about the current mission plan that merit review," Rodriguez announced diplomatically. "Martinez has provided technical input about weapon effectiveness that could improve mission success." Hayes's jaw tightened at the suggestion that maintenance personnel could contribute meaningfully to combat mission planning. However, the mission's importance and his visible struggles with tactical solutions created pressure to consider all available resources, even those that challenged his preconceptions about personnel capabilities. Martinez presented her tactical analysis with professional competence that impressed the assembled pilots. She identified optimal weapon loads for different target types, recommended approach timing that avoided enemy reinforcement windows, and suggested egress routes that minimized anti-aircraft exposure while maintaining tactical flexibility. Her suggestions revealed intimate knowledge of A-10 combat capabilities that extended far beyond technical specifications. Martinez understood weapon employment techniques, terrain masking principles, and enemy behavior patterns with precision that suggested extensive combat experience rather than maintenance training. Hayes grudgingly accepted Martinez's recommendations after verifying their tactical soundness through additional analysis. Her modifications improved mission effectiveness while reducing aircraft vulnerability, yet he publicly minimized her contribution to maintain his authority over squadron operations. The planning session concluded with Martinez's tactical improvements incorporated into the final mission brief. Squadron members privately acknowledged that her expertise had transformed a marginally viable plan into a tactically sound operation, though Hayes prevented official recognition of her contribution. Thompson witnessed the entire exchange from his position near the communications equipment, realizing that Martinez possessed pilot-level tactical knowledge despite her maintenance assignment. Her ability to identify and solve complex operational problems suggested training that extended far beyond what her personnel file indicated. Collins and Rodriguez approached Thompson after Hayes dismissed the planning session. Martinez's tactical analysis was more sophisticated than most combat pilots could provide, Collins observed quietly. Her knowledge of weapon employment and enemy patterns suggests operational experience that contradicts her maintenance role. Thompson nodded thoughtfully, adding Martinez's demonstrated tactical expertise to his growing file of evidence about her concealed background. The woman Hayes continued dismissing as simple maintenance personnel had just improved a critical combat mission through knowledge that proved her qualifications extended far beyond her assigned duties. Master Sergeant Thompson submitted his formal request for Martinez's complete service record through official channels, utilizing administrative procedures he had employed successfully for 20 years of personnel management. The request specified operational necessity based on her demonstrated capabilities during recent emergency situations, providing justification that should have expedited normal processing. The response arrived within hours, stamped with denial codes Thompson had never encountered. Access to requested personnel information requires special authorization clearance. The form stated in bureaucratic language that concealed more than it revealed. Security classifications prevent disclosure through standard administrative channels. Thompson contacted his longtime friend Master Sergeant Williams at Personnel Command, hoping personal relationships might clarify the unusual restrictions surrounding Martinez's file. Williams's reaction to Martinez's name was immediate and cautious, his voice dropping to nearly a whisper despite their secure phone connection. "Thompson," Williams said carefully, "that name triggers flags in our system that I've never seen from maintenance personnel. Martinez's file has restricted access markings that usually apply to intelligence operatives or special operations personnel. Someone very high up the chain of command placed those restrictions. The revelation stunned Thompson into momentary silence as implications crystallized in his mind. Martinez's maintenance assignment might be deliberate cover for activities that required concealment from normal squadron operations. Williams continued with information that transformed Thompson's understanding of the situation entirely. Her file shows pilot wings in the medical records section, Williams revealed, but those qualifications don't appear in her official personnel summary. Someone scrubbed her flight status from standard documentation while leaving traces in medical files that most people wouldn't check. Thompson absorbed this information while considering Martinez's demonstrated knowledge and capabilities. Her expertise with emergency procedures, tactical planning, and weapon systems suddenly made complete sense if she possessed pilot qualifications that had been deliberately concealed from squadron leadership. Lieutenant Collins burst into Thompson's office with urgent news that accelerated the timeline for resolving Martinez's status. Hayes is processing transfer orders for Martinez, Collins announced breathlessly. She's being reassigned to a maintenance depot in Alaska, effective immediately. Rodriguez arrived moments later with additional intelligence gathered from overheard conversations. Hayes called someone at Personnel Command, requesting expedited transfer for a problem maintenance worker, Rodriguez reported. He specifically mentioned removing disruptive influences from squadron operations. Thompson realized Hayes' transfer plan would eliminate Martinez before her true qualifications could be verified or properly utilized. The timing suggested Hayes either suspected her real background or simply wanted to remove someone whose expertise challenged his authority over squadron operations. Thompson placed an emergency call to his most trusted contact at Martinez's previous assignment, bypassing the official channels that had proven unproductive. Technical Sergeant Rodriguez at Davis-Monthan answered hesitantly, recognizing Thompson's voice from their previous conversation that had ended abruptly. Sergeant Martinez saved a pilot's life last week using knowledge she shouldn't have, Thompson explained urgently. I need to understand her actual qualifications before my commander transfers her to a position where that expertise is wasted. Rodriguez's long pause preceded a response that confirmed Thompson's growing suspicions. Martinez isn't maintenance personnel, Rodriguez finally admitted. She's Captain Sarah Martinez, a 10 pilot assigned to a classified program that I can't discuss over unsecured communications. The revelation hit Thompson like physical impact as every piece of the puzzle fell into place. Martinez's technical expertise, tactical knowledge, emergency procedures competence, and weapon systems understanding all made perfect sense if she was actually a qualified combat pilot maintaining cover for unknown operational reasons. Rodriguez continued with information that explained the elaborate concealment surrounding Martinez's background. Her assignment to your squadron was deliberate, not administrative error, he explained. Someone wanted a qualified pilot embedded in maintenance operations, probably for evaluation or investigation purposes. Thompson understood immediately that Hayes had been unknowingly harassing and dismissing a combat pilot whose presence in the squadron served purposes beyond normal maintenance duties. Every instance of Hayes' condescending treatment had been directed at someone whose qualifications exceeded his own. Collins and Rodriguez listened with growing amazement as Thompson shared Rodriguez's revelations about Martinez's true identity. The woman they had watched endure months of dismissive treatment was actually Captain Martinez, a qualified A-10 pilot whose maintenance role concealed her real mission within the squadron. Thompson faced an immediate decision about how to proceed with this information. Hayes' transfer orders would remove Martinez within days, potentially compromising whatever mission had placed her in the squadron. The situation required careful handling to protect Martinez's cover while ensuring her expertise remained available to the unit. The administrative complexity of Martinez's situation became clear as Thompson considered the implications. Someone at very high levels had orchestrated her placement in the squadron under false credentials, suggesting operational importance that extended far beyond normal personnel assignments. Thompson realized he possessed information that could transform squadron operations if handled properly, or create serious problems if mismanaged. Martinez's true identity as Captain Martinez, combat pilot, changed everything about her interactions with Hayes and her potential contributions to squadron readiness and effectiveness. The alert klaxon wailed across the base at 0400 hours, jolting personnel from sleep as emergency lighting bathed the flight line in harsh red illumination. Major Hayes rushed to the operations center in his hastily donned flight suit, finding intelligence officers briefing skeleton crew personnel on rapidly developing combat situation requiring immediate air support. Enemy forces had advanced during the night, overwhelming forward positions and threatening to overrun friendly troops trapped in defensive positions. The situation demanded immediate close air support to prevent catastrophic losses, yet squadron readiness had been compromised by combat injuries sustained during previous missions. Captain Williams remained hospitalized from his emergency landing, while Lieutenant Morrison was grounded with concussion sustained during ejection 2 days earlier. The squadron faced a critical pilot shortage at the worst possible moment, with only 3 qualified aircrew available for a mission requiring minimum 4 aircraft formation. Hayes contacted wing operations requesting replacement pilots from other squadrons, his voice tight with stress as he explained the personnel shortage. No additional pilots available for 48 hours, came the response that sealed the squadron's operational dilemma. All other units committed to ongoing operations cannot provide support personnel. Thompson arrived in operations as Hayes absorbed the devastating news about pilot availability. The mission required launch within 6 hours to prevent friendly casualties, yet Hayes lacked sufficient aircrew to meet minimum formation requirements for effective close air support in contested airspace. Hayes began calculating desperate alternatives, reducing formation size below tactical minimums, requesting mission postponement that would abandon ground troops, or attempting to borrow aircraft from other units without qualified pilots to fly them. Each option carried unacceptable risks or abandoned personnel, depending on air support. Thompson approached Hayes with information that could resolve the crisis, though he anticipated strong resistance. "Major, we have a qualified A-10 pilot available for this mission," Thompson announced carefully. "Martinez has the credentials and experience necessary to fill the pilot shortage." Hayes turned sharply toward Thompson, his face flushing with anger at the suggestion. "Martinez is maintenance personnel, not a pilot," Hayes snapped. "Your conspiracy theories about her background don't change her actual qualifications or authorization to fly combat missions." Thompson pressed forward despite Hayes's hostility, knowing that friendly forces faced annihilation without immediate air support. "Martinez is Captain Sarah Martinez, qualified A-10 pilot assigned to this squadron undercover," Thompson explained. "I verified her credentials through official channels." The operations center fell silent as other personnel absorbed Thompson's revelation about Martinez's true identity. Hayes stared at Thompson with expression mixing disbelief and fury, his authority challenged by information that contradicted months of his own assumptions about squadron personnel. Collins and Rodriguez entered operations as Thompson continued explaining Martinez's concealed pilot qualifications. Both lieutenants had witnessed her expertise firsthand, making Thompson's revelation logical rather than shocking. Martinez's knowledge and capabilities finally made complete sense. Hayes refused to accept Thompson's information despite the mounting evidence and desperate operational circumstances. "I will not authorize maintenance personnel to fly combat missions based on unsubstantiated claims," Hayes declared. "The mission will proceed with available qualified pilots regardless of formation size." Thompson realized Hayes's denial endangered both the mission and friendly forces requiring air support. The Major's inability to acknowledge Martinez's qualifications created a command crisis that threatened to result in preventable casualties and mission failure. Rodriguez stepped forward with support for Thompson's position. "Major, Martinez's tactical knowledge and emergency procedures expertise prove she has pilot training, Rodriguez argued. The evidence is overwhelming, and the mission requires her participation. Hayes threatened disciplinary action against anyone supporting what he termed conspiracy theories about Martinez's background. His authority demanded absolute acceptance of his assessment, regardless of evidence or operational necessity. The confrontation escalated beyond personality conflict toward command failure. Meanwhile, urgent messages continued arriving from ground commanders requesting immediate air support. Casualty reports increased as enemy pressure intensified, creating time pressure that demanded resolution of the pilot shortage within hours rather than days. Thompson faced a choice between accepting Hayes's potentially catastrophic decision or formally challenging his commander's authority during active combat operations. The situation had progressed beyond administrative disagreement toward crisis requiring immediate resolution. Hayes prepared to launch an understaffed mission that violated tactical doctrine and endangered remaining aircrew, his pride preventing acknowledgement of alternatives that challenge his previous judgments about Martinez. The squadron faced potential disaster through leadership failure rather than enemy action. Collins approached Hayes with final appeal based on operational necessity rather than personal conflict. Major, whether we call her Martinez or Captain Martinez, she has the knowledge to save this mission, Collins argued desperately. Ground troops are dying while we debate her qualifications. Hayes's response crystallized his position with finality that precluded further discussion. The mission launches with available qualified personnel only, he announced. Anyone suggesting otherwise faces court-martial for insubordination during combat operations. Thompson realized that resolving the crisis required action beyond persuasion or evidence presentation. Hayes's command decisions threatened friendly forces and squadron personnel through stubborn refusal to acknowledge Martinez's qualifications when operational success depended on her participation. Major Hayes issued final orders for the understaffed mission launch as dawn approached, his determination to proceed with inadequate aircrew overriding tactical doctrine and operational safety. 3 pilots would attempt a mission requiring 4 aircraft, accepting increased risk rather than acknowledging alternatives that challenged his authority over squadron personnel assignments. Martinez appeared in the operations center doorway as Hayes reviewed final mission parameters with his reduced formation. She had removed her maintenance coveralls, revealing the olive drab flight suit that had remained hidden beneath her work clothes for months. Her appearance in pilot attire created immediate silence throughout the operations center. Hayes turned toward Martinez with expression shifting from surprise to renewed anger at her unauthorized presence in flight gear. "You're not authorized to wear pilot equipment," he began, but Martinez approached his position with calm determination that commanded attention despite his hostility. "Major Hayes," Martinez said quietly, "I need permission to speak with you privately about this mission." Her tone carried authority that contradicted her supposed maintenance role. Yet Hayes remained focused on her apparent violation of uniform regulations rather than her request for discussion. Martinez reached into her flight suit pocket, withdrawing items that transformed the operational situation completely. She placed her official pilot wings on Hayes's desk, the metal insignia gleaming under fluorescent lighting, followed by mission patches that told stories of combat operations Hayes had never imagined. The patches revealed participation in classified operations spanning multiple theaters, including special operations support missions that required exceptional pilot qualifications. Martinez's decorations indicated combat experience that exceeded most squadron personnel, yet she had endured months of dismissive treatment while maintaining operational cover. Hayes stared at the pilot wings and patches, his mind struggling to reconcile the evidence with his firmly held beliefs about Martinez's background and qualifications. The woman he had consistently dismissed as maintenance personnel possessed credentials that proved extensive combat pilot experience. "I am Captain Sarah Martinez, a 10 pilot assigned to evaluate squadron readiness and operational effectiveness," Martinez explained with professional composure. My maintenance role provided cover for observing normal unit operations without command influence affecting personnel behavior and decision-making processes. The revelation hit Hayes like physical impact as every interaction with Martinez suddenly appeared in completely different context. His condescending treatment, public humiliations, and dismissive responses had been directed at a qualified combat pilot whose experience exceeded his own. Thompson and the assembled personnel watched Hayes absorb the magnitude of his misjudgment about Martinez's qualifications and mission. Every instance of his arrogance had been documented by someone specifically assigned to evaluate his leadership capabilities and squadron readiness. Martinez continued her explanation with details that illuminated the purpose behind her concealed assignment. Command needed assessment of squadron operations under normal conditions, she said. My observations were intended to identify training deficiencies and leadership issues affecting combat readiness. Hayes realized that Martinez had witnessed and documented every example of his poor judgment, inappropriate treatment of personnel, and failure to recognize capabilities within his unit. Her report would detail months of leadership failures that had occurred while she maintained professional silence. "Why did you maintain cover through all the harassment?" Hayes asked, his voice barely audible as the implications continued expanding. Martinez met his gaze with steady professionalism that emphasized the contrast between her conduct and his own behavior throughout their interactions. "The mission required authentic observation of squadron dynamics," Martinez replied. "Revealing my identity would have altered behavior patterns and invalidated the assessment process. My assignment was to document normal operations, not influence them through command intervention." Thompson stepped forward with a question that addressed the immediate operational crisis. "Captain Martinez, are you authorized to participate in today's mission, given your qualifications and current assignment status?" Martinez nodded, explaining that her pilot status remained active despite her cover role. Hayes faced the reality that his squadron included a qualified combat pilot whose expertise could resolve the current crisis. Yet his treatment of her had been consistently inappropriate and professionally damaging. The woman he had assigned to cleaning duties possessed qualifications that exceeded most of his aircrew. Collins and Rodriguez observed Hayes's stunned recognition of Martinez's true identity with mixture of vindication and concern about command implications. Their suspicions about her unusual knowledge had been proven correct, while Hayes's judgment appeared fundamentally flawed. Martinez awaited Hayes's decision about mission participation while maintaining the professional composure she had demonstrated throughout months of concealed service. Her revelation transformed the operational situation completely, providing the qualified pilot necessary for mission success. The Operations Center atmosphere shifted dramatically as personnel absorbed the complete reversal of perceived roles and capabilities. Martinez's patient endurance of dismissive treatment, while maintaining operational cover, demonstrated professionalism that contrasted sharply with Hayes's documented behavior. Hayes struggled with the immediate choice between accepting Martinez's qualifications and authorizing her mission participation, or continuing denial that would result in mission failure and potential casualties. The evidence of her pilot status made continued resistance appear increasingly unreasonable. Martinez stood ready to transition from concealed observer to active pilot, her expertise finally available for the combat mission that required every qualified aircrew member the squadron could provide. Major Hayes authorized Martinez's mission participation with reluctant acknowledgement of her qualifications. His voice strained as he signed the flight authorization that officially recognized her pilot status. The Operations Center transformed as personnel witnessed Martinez transition from concealed maintenance worker to combat aircrew leader within minutes. Martinez moved through pre-flight procedures with practiced efficiency that revealed the depth of her aviation experience. Her flight suit bore the worn patches and equipment arrangements of a seasoned combat pilot, details that had remained hidden beneath maintenance coveralls for months of careful observation. The flight line buzzed with activity as ground crews prepared 4 A-10 aircraft for immediate launch, their professional demeanor shifting noticeably as they interacted with Martinez in her revealed pilot capacity. Master Sergeant Thompson coordinated aircraft preparation while observing the dramatic change in squadron dynamics. Martinez conducted her pre-flight inspection with methodical precision that impressed even experienced maintenance personnel. Her knowledge of aircraft systems became openly displayed rather than carefully concealed, revealing expertise that extended far beyond what anyone had suspected during her cover assignment. Hayes watched from operations as Martinez briefed the other pilots on mission parameters, her tactical leadership immediately apparent to everyone observing the interaction. Collins and Rodriguez responded to her guidance with respect that reflected recognition of her superior experience and qualifications. The four-ship formation taxied toward the active runway, with Martinez designated as flight lead, her aircraft positioned at the head of the formation that would provide critical close air support to endangered ground forces. Hayes remained in operations, monitoring radio communications as the mission progressed. Martinez's voice over the radio demonstrated calm professionalism as she coordinated with air traffic control and ground commanders. Her communication style revealed command presence that had been suppressed during months of maintenance duties, yet now emerged naturally as she assumed operational responsibility. The formation entered contested airspace under Martinez's tactical leadership, her knowledge of enemy air defense patterns proving crucial for safe ingress to the target area. Hayes listened to her radio calls while recognizing the expertise he had consistently dismissed and undermined. Martinez guided the formation through complex terrain using navigation skills that exceeded standard pilot training. Her tactical decisions demonstrated intimate knowledge of A-10 capabilities combined with combat experience that enabled optimal employment of aircraft and weapon systems. Ground controllers confirmed visual contact with the attacking formation as Martinez positioned her aircraft for initial target engagement. Her tactical approach utilized terrain masking and coordinated timing that maximized weapon effectiveness while minimizing exposure to enemy anti-aircraft systems. The mission proceeded flawlessly under Martinez's leadership as she coordinated multiple target engagements with precision that prevented friendly casualties while neutralizing enemy threats. Hayes monitored her tactical calls, recognizing expertise that could have been available to the squadron for months. Martinez's weapon employment techniques proved textbook perfect as she guided other pilots through coordinated attacks that systematically eliminated enemy positions threatening friendly forces. Her combat experience became evident through tactical decisions that demonstrated mastery of close air support operations. Post-strike assessment confirmed mission success with 0 friendly casualties and complete neutralization of enemy threats that had endangered ground forces. Martinez coordinated formation egress through hostile airspace while maintaining tactical awareness that ensured safe return to base. The 4 aircraft landed safely with Martinez's leadership, having prevented potential disaster through tactical expertise that Hayes had unknowingly possessed within his squadron. Ground crews welcomed the returning formation with expressions that reflected new understanding of Martinez's capabilities. Hayes met the pilots at aircraft parking, his demeanor completely transformed as he witnessed indisputable proof of Martinez's exceptional piloting and leadership abilities. The mission's success validated every observation Thompson, Collins, and Rodriguez had made about her concealed qualifications. Martinez completed post-flight procedures with the same methodical attention to detail she had demonstrated in maintenance duties, yet now her actions carried the authority of proven combat leadership rather than dismissed technical support. Her transition from cover to operational status was complete. Thompson approached Martinez as she secured her aircraft, his expression reflecting professional admiration for her successful maintenance of cover while enduring months of inappropriate treatment. Your mission performance proved what we suspected about your qualifications, Thompson commented with obvious respect. Hayes faced the undeniable reality that Martinez had demonstrated superior tactical knowledge, exceptional piloting skills, and combat leadership that exceeded most squadron personnel. Her patient endurance of his dismissive treatment while maintaining operational readiness reflected professionalism that highlighted his own leadership deficiencies. The mission debrief confirmed that Martinez's tactical decisions had prevented potential casualties while achieving complete mission success under challenging conditions. Her expertise, finally revealed and properly employed, had saved lives and validated the confidence Thompson and others had developed in her concealed capabilities. Captain Martinez submitted her comprehensive evaluation report to Wing Command within hours of the successful combat mission, documenting months of observations about squadron operations, leadership effectiveness, and personnel utilization under Major Hayes' command. The report detailed systematic patterns of capability, misrecognition, and inappropriate treatment that had compromised unit readiness. Wing Commander Colonel Stevens reviewed Martinez's findings with growing concern about the leadership deficiencies her undercover assignment had revealed. Her documentation included specific incidents of Hayes dismissing qualified personnel, mismanaging crisis situations, and demonstrating poor judgment about aircrew capabilities during critical operations. The evaluation report detailed Hayes' failure to recognize Martinez's expertise despite multiple demonstrations of advanced knowledge, his punitive responses to her technical contributions, and his near-catastrophic refusal to acknowledge her pilot qualifications during the recent emergency. Each incident reflected broader leadership problems affecting squadron effectiveness. Colonel Stevens summoned Hayes for immediate review of his command performance, presenting evidence that his leadership approach had created operational risks and personnel management failures. Hayes faced formal accountability for months of documented poor judgment that Martinez's assignment had systematically recorded. Master Sergeant Thompson received official commendation for his investigation efforts that had identified Martinez's concealed qualifications despite administrative obstacles and command resistance. His persistence in pursuing the truth about her background had contributed to resolving the pilot shortage crisis. Lieutenant Collins and Rodriguez approached Martinez individually to apologize for their initial acceptance of Hayes' dismissive treatment, acknowledging their failure to challenge obvious capability misassignment. Both pilots expressed regret about not supporting her expertise more forcefully when Hayes punished her contributions. Martinez accepted their apologies with professional grace while explaining that her mission required observing normal squadron dynamics without interference. Her assignment had been specifically designed to document authentic leadership behavior under typical operational conditions rather than influence performance. Hayes underwent mandatory leadership retraining focused on personnel assessment, capability recognition, and appropriate utilization of qualified individuals regardless of their assigned roles. The remedial education addressed systematic blind spots that had prevented him from recognizing Martinez's expertise. Squadron members implemented new protocols for identifying and properly utilizing personnel capabilities that might not align with official position assignments. Martinez's experience demonstrated the importance of evaluating individuals based on demonstrated competence rather than administrative categories. Thompson received promotion to Senior Maintenance Supervisor with expanded authority to coordinate technical expertise across traditional role boundaries. His recognition of Martinez's capabilities despite official assignments earned him responsibility for implementing improved personnel utilization procedures. Hayes faced formal counseling about his treatment of Martinez during her undercover assignment, including detailed review of each incident where his dismissive behavior had created operational problems or personnel issues. The counseling addressed attitude and judgment problems that had compromised his leadership effectiveness. Martinez transitioned to official pilot status within the squadron while maintaining advisory role about maintenance operations, her dual expertise proving valuable for coordinating technical and operational requirements. Her position bridged traditional role divisions that had previously limited squadron effectiveness. Collins and Rodriguez credited their experience with Martinez for improved awareness about recognizing expertise in unexpected contexts. Both pilots adopted more inclusive approaches to personnel evaluation that considered individual capabilities rather than position-based assumptions. The squadron's operational readiness improved dramatically with Martinez's open participation in mission planning and tactical discussions. Her knowledge, no longer concealed, enhanced unit effectiveness while demonstrating the value of proper capability recognition and utilization. Hayes's leadership style underwent significant modification as he implemented lessons learned from his interactions with Martinez. His experience with misjudging her qualifications served as constant reminder about the importance of evaluating personnel based on demonstrated competence rather than preconceived assumptions. New squadron policies required regular capability assessments for all personnel, ensuring that individual expertise was properly identified and utilized regardless of official position assignments. Martinez's case became the foundation for preventing future misutilization of qualified individuals. Thompson established mentorship programs that connected experienced personnel with those whose capabilities might not be immediately apparent through traditional evaluation methods. The initiative aimed to prevent the kind of systematic oversight that had characterized Martinez's initial treatment. Squadron cohesion strengthened as personnel adopted more collaborative approaches that valued individual contributions based on merit rather than hierarchical assumptions. Martinez's revelation demonstrated that exceptional capability could exist at any organizational level. Hayes publicly acknowledged that his treatment of Martinez had reflected poor leadership judgment that compromised squadron readiness and individual dignity. His admission served as foundation for rebuilding command relationships based on mutual respect and proper capability recognition. 6 months after Martinez's revelation transformed squadron operations, the unit consistently earned top performance ratings across all evaluation categories. Wing Command attributed the dramatic improvement to leadership changes and personnel utilization reforms that had emerged from Martinez's undercover assessment and subsequent integration as an official pilot. Captain Martinez's innovative assessment techniques gained recognition throughout Air Force command structures, leading to adoption of similar undercover evaluation programs at bases facing readiness concerns. Her method of embedding qualified personnel in unexpected roles provided authentic observation of unit dynamics without the artificial behavior that accompanied traditional inspections. Major Hayes completed his leadership retraining program with distinction, emerging as an advocate for recognizing hidden talent within military ranks. His personal transformation from dismissive commander to capability-focused leader became a case study in leadership development courses, demonstrating how individuals could overcome judgmental assumptions through education and experience. Master Sergeant Thompson's personnel utilization program expanded beyond the squadron to encompass wing-wide initiatives for identifying misassigned skilled individuals. His systematic approach to matching capabilities with appropriate positions helped dozens of qualified personnel transition to roles that better utilize their expertise and training. Lieutenant Collins and Rodriguez developed enhanced tactical awareness that they credited directly to their experience observing Martinez's concealed expertise. Both pilots advanced rapidly through leadership positions, carrying forward lessons about evaluating personnel based on demonstrated competence rather than apparent role assignments. The squadron's culture underwent permanent transformation from assumption-based hierarchy to merit-focused collaboration. Personnel at all levels contributed tactical insights and technical expertise regardless of their official positions, creating an environment where capability determined influence rather than rank or assignment category. Martinez continued flying combat missions while serving as special advisor for personnel assessment across multiple commands. Her dual role as pilot and evaluation specialist proved invaluable for identifying systemic problems in talent recognition and utilization throughout military organizations. Air Force Personnel Command implemented new policies requiring verification of all individual qualifications during assignment processes, preventing the kind of administrative errors that could place highly qualified personnel in inappropriate positions. Martinez's case provided the foundation for these comprehensive reforms. Military leadership schools incorporated Martinez's story into their curriculum as a primary example of capability recognition failures and their operational consequences. Her experience became required study for officers learning about personnel management and leadership effectiveness under challenging circumstances. Hayes established mentorship programs that connected senior leaders with personnel whose backgrounds might not immediately reveal their full qualifications. His initiative helped identify numerous individuals whose expertise had been overlooked due to position-based assumptions or inadequate evaluation processes. Other squadrons requested Martinez's assessment visits to evaluate their own personnel utilization effectiveness and identify potential capability gaps. Her reputation for thorough evaluation and practical recommendations made her services highly sought after throughout the command structure. Thompson's identification programs discovered dozens of misassigned specialists across the wing, including former instructors serving in basic positions, experienced technicians working below their qualification levels, and combat veterans whose expertise had been administratively overlooked during assignment processes. Collins and Rodriguez implemented inclusive decision-making processes that encouraged input from all squadron members regardless of their official roles. Their leadership approach reflected lessons learned about the value of diverse perspectives and the importance of creating environments where expertise could emerge naturally. What experiences have you had where someone's true capabilities were completely different from what their job title suggested? These stories of hidden expertise remind us that exceptional people often work quietly around us, waiting for the right moment to reveal their true potential. The squadron success story spread throughout military communities as evidence that organizational effectiveness improved dramatically when leaders prioritized capability recognition over hierarchical assumptions. Martinez's patient endurance of inappropriate treatment while maintaining professional excellence became a model for others facing similar challenges. New military doctrine emphasized the importance of regular capability assessments and cross-functional evaluation to ensure optimal personnel utilization. Martinez's experience provided concrete evidence that traditional assignment categories could mask significant expertise that remained unavailable until properly identified. Years later, Martinez's influence extended far beyond her original squadron as officers throughout the military implemented her lessons about recognizing and developing talent in unexpected places. Her legacy transformed how the Air Force approached personnel evaluation and capability recognition. The woman who had quietly endured months of dismissive treatment while maintaining her cover became a symbol of professional excellence and patient dedication to mission success. Martinez's story reminded everyone that true competence often works behind the scenes, waiting for the moment when excellence can no longer be ignored or dismissed. Hayes often reflected on how his assumptions had nearly prevented him from recognizing one of the most qualified pilots in his command. His experience served as a permanent reminder that leadership required looking beyond surface appearances to discover the exceptional capabilities that might be concealed within any organization. Martinez continued her dual role as combat pilot and personnel assessment specialist. Her unique perspective helping commanders across the military recognize and properly utilize the hidden expertise that existed within their ranks. Her patient professionalism had created lasting change that benefited countless individuals whose capabilities might otherwise have remained overlooked and underutilized.